Well, good evening, chess fans, and welcome to the Monday night edition of Friday Night Podcast. We're here at Starbucks at 81st and Mingo, and I'm with the Reverend Ed Boyle. And once again, we're going to concentrate on D4 openings. And Ed, our theme tonight is the Queen's Gambit accepted. And not only is this really not a gambit, but tell us, can Black really hang on to that pawn?
No, Jim. Thank you for inviting me back. Black tries getting greedy, and he's just going to get squashed on the queen side. And tonight, what we're going to do is show you how to set that up.
Okay, so if we're going to play the Queen's Gambit, accept it, then of course we're going to end up playing D4, D5, and C4. And then he's going to go ahead and take the pawn right there, and now we've accepted the so-called Gambit. And now we have the E3 move that we're going to play next. And tell us what happens next when Black plays this B5 move.
Well, Black is playing this because he's trying to get greedy. He's using the pawn to try to protect the C4 pawn from the bishop. But what White needs to do is start hammering away. For those who are old enough, they may know that the whack-a-mole game, it's almost like this. Those pawns are the black pawns are the moles, and we're going to keep whacking away at them until we finally win this.
Whack-a-mole, I love that game.
So what we're going to do now is hit the back pawn. When you have a pawn chain, you always want to attack the back end of the pawn.
Right. So we play this A4 move right here, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So Black's thinking, well, I'll just reinforce that by playing the C6 move right here, and the problem with that is this right here, isn't it? You go ahead and exchange off, and now the pawn it's vulnerable because what's the next move we're going to see here?
Well, believe it or not, a FIDE-rated master, somebody who was rated 2220, actually fell into this and played these moves as Black against an unrated player back in 1995. What happened was the unrated player happened to know this trap and played queen to f3, attacking the undefended rook across the board.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any way you can save that rook because even if you try this knight to c6 move right here, then the next thing you can do is just go ahead and take it. Now you've got check.
That is correct. The bishop up to attack the queen, and the black queen protects the rook, but the white queen can either retreat or still stay in a strong position and just play queen to a6. Now, believe it or not, also, by the way, the first time that this game was played, it was played by Grandmaster Greco 390 years ago, way back in 1620. So it's almost 4 centuries old.
My goodness. Yeah, 400 years. That's a long time. Well, let's go back to one of the first variations you want to take a look here. So let's go to move number 6. And rather than playing what we played in the text here, let's go to the queen f3. And rather than playing the move the knight to c6, let's take the queen to c7 move right here.
Okay, this is what that luckless master played back in 95 was queen to c7. White just went ahead and took off with the rook.
Yeah.
All right, and then Black played a6 with the idea that he's eventually going to try to trap the queen in the corner. But White says, you're not going to trap me, and just plays queen to c5. He's a rook up, and he goes ahead and he beats a FIDE-rated master.
Okay. Now our next line, we're going to go back here to move 4, and this is going to be the move where we play A4 right here, and rather than playing the c6, we're going to play this bishop to d7 move right here. And let's go ahead and follow through with this. Now the idea with the bishop to d7 being that he's going to try and still protect that pawn, right?
That is correct. The English master J.H. Sarek played this back in London in 1818, so you're looking at a game that's almost 200 years old.
Right.
Again, though, because he knew the idea was attack the pawn. He takes the pawn there. Black plays bishop takes. Now White, Sarek is attacking the bishop, so we protect the bishop by moving it back in this case.
And queen to f3 again.
Queen to f3. This is a reoccurring theme that you see very, very often when Black tries to get greedy and hang on to that pawn at all costs. He may wind up losing a rook.
So if you play this c6 move right here to try and protect that, does that work?
No, it does not. White sees a sacrifice of an exchange, which turned out it's not really a sacrifice, but a brilliant combination, which made this game famous for over 100 years.
So he takes it, he does what you think is a sacrifice exchange, but once his knight takes back, the queen takes back with check, and now he's attacking the rook at a8, and the knight over there at a6.
And the king.
Right, and he's in check too. So the queen tries to interpose, but that doesn't help because you just take the rook off. You bring the queen back. You check him again. Just you might as well go ahead and resign as far as black is concerned, because he's now down what, 2 minor pieces?
He's down 2 minor pieces. He's down a bishop. He's down a knight. And
Okay.
black did resign in this position.
Okay, so let's go back now to this knight to f3 variation we looked at. Rather than playing the e3 move, we played the knight to f3, but then we're going to play a sub variation here, this knight to c6. And the idea behind this is what?
Well, again, this is a couple of English players who played this. What black is trying to do is he's going to try to pile up on the A pawn with the knight and the queen attacking there.
Right.
But now, after e3, protecting that, go back one move. Black played b6 with the idea of developing the bishop someplace, possibly putting the bishop at a6 also to protect that pawn.
I see. So then the bishop takes here.
Bishop takes the pawn.
Now
black is now attacking the bishop,
right,
with the idea that the undefended bishop has to move someplace. But white has a couple of surprises.
So he plays this move right here to go ahead and check.
He check.
Then he plays the bishop to d7 to interpose.
That's correct. And black is looking at, I'm attacking the queen, I'm attacking the bishop. If the queen moves over one square to b4 to protect that bishop, because the bishop has no other protection,
right,
then black could also play e5 or e6, and the bishop would attack the queen again.
Okay. So then white plays this knight to e6 move. And so I guess black thinks, hey, I get a free queen, right?
That's correct. Black thinks he gets a free queen, but white gets a free king.
So that's great. So you got to pay attention to this. Okay, well, let's go back to our knight to f3 position again, and now we're going to take this b5 line. Is that correct? The b5 line?
b5 is correct. Yes. Again, black is trying to hang on to the pawn at all costs.
Okay, but then we're going to go down to another line, another sub variation here, where you play the a4 again.
Right. This is a general theme in the position. Keep attacking those pawns, attacking the pawns, attacking the pawns. You're whacking a pawn.
So we go ahead and play the c6 like we've seen before. We play e3, and I guess black continues to try and protect that pawn over there, but that doesn't quite work, because once you take, then what happens is if he takes there.
Now this is a little bit different. Now
yeah.
You have no more pawns to attack the back end of the chain.
Right.
So what we're going to do is attack the front end of the chain.
So we go ahead and do this right here. He takes, and then the next thing is this take right here, and that a pawn cannot take back, because if he does, he's gonna hang his rook on a8, right?
That is correct. Black just has an awful problem with that rook sitting at a8.
Yeah.
We've looked at line after line after line, and that rook at a8 is just in a bad spot.
So he tries to protect here with his bishop, so he takes. He takes back with the knight, and now the queen takes here, and basically you've got black who has, let's see, he's got to get the knight out on the king's side, he's got to get the bishop out on the king's side, plus he's got to move a pawn to get the bishop out. So you're looking at least 3 tempo just to get the king castled, if you're going to try to castle at all. So doesn't look real good for for black right here.
No, white is almost won. Ironically, if you put this position up on a computer, it does not have white as an overwhelming advantage. But anybody that because the computers will compare material first.
Right.
But if you're actually looking at the position, white is just overrunning the entire position. White's ready to castle on the next move, bring his rook out, develop the bishop, and all the white's pieces are out of the box right now, or just about out of the box right now.
Well, there are some traps in here for white, isn't it? So you've got this knight to f3 move. We go back to this on the third move. And then black will play this knight to c6, or am I wrong? No, we're going to play the c6.
B5.
I'm sorry, the b5 move. Then we're going to play, what's our next move here? E3? No, I'm sorry, c6.
On c6. Now, it's not always white who gets the win out of the openings. Okay,
Right.
White does have to pay a little bit of attention. Now, what we're going to take a look at is a couple of lines where grandmasters suddenly felt like complete idiots.
Okay. So which line are we going to go to here, Ed?
Right now, black plays c6.
So we're going to play that move right there. Okay.
Right.
So then white plays this
E3 with
right?
the idea of playing bishop takes pawn on the next move.
I see. So he protects here with bishop to e6.
Now, black is using that Right. The black is using the bishop to protect at e6. Black's idea is eventually he's going to play g7 and bishop to g7 and use
Okay,
the bishops
I
on those
see.
diagonals.
So on the next move here, we have white attacking that
But
bishop.
for some explainable reason,
An inexplainable reason.
Grandmaster Lucic and Grandmaster Fargo and
Some other players,
some
huh?
IMs and some other players decided that they were going to attack that bishop and get that and possibly double up the pawns. But
And
there's a slight little problem with that.
you got a check right there, and you've got the check on the king, and you're attacking the bishop at the same time. So the best you can do is either play that bishop into d2 to interpose, or you can play the knight to f3. But either way, you're still going to be a knight down.
Or c3.
Or c3, I'm sorry, knight to c3. And that doesn't help. So
what happened here was 5 of the embarrassed masters, including the 2 GMs, resigned on move 5 and went out and did whatever grandmasters do when they slink off into the sunset.
Okay. Well, listen, thanks, Ed. We appreciate it, and we appreciate being able to see these lines here tonight. If you're interested, you can come over here on Monday nights and meet us at the Starbucks at 81st and Mingo, and be part of the crowd that's watching this or asking questions. We're always glad to see you here. So we want to tell everybody thanks a lot for listening, and nice chess, happy chess to everybody. Good night.